the Iraqi government as much as them. And so when they try to say that every time something goes wrong in Iraq, it's because the Iranians are having Muqtada al-Sadr do it, they're just wrong. The Iranians would vastly prefer that the Supreme Islamic Council and the Badr Corps are the rulers of Iraq, not Muqtada al-Sadr, who is not controllable and who has made it clear over and over again that he's an Iraqi nationalist. This comes most clear when Abdulaziz al-Hakim and his allies have announced on numerous occasions their intention to split Iraq into three and to basically take Baghdad and the rest of the south and run off and create Shiistan in alliance with Iran. Every time that the Hakim faction says that, Muqtada al-Sadr comes out and denounces them as traitors, and in no uncertain terms. And so it's just plain to see. The only reason that America opposes Muqtada al-Sadr is not because he's any worse than any of the other Shiite Ayatollahs, although he's pretty bad. It's because he wants us out, and they need us to stay. It's as simple as that. And the problem that we find ourselves facing now is that the Mahdi army, under all this pressure, all this time, is now strong enough to defeat outright the Badr Corps, aka the Iraqi army, that our government props up. Not that they could take the American army in a pitched battle, but the future of the American occupation of Iraq is in pretty bad shape when more than 5 years after the invasion, we have rockets falling on the Green Zone today, and people dying in the Green Zone. We have Muqtada al-Sadr still basically abiding by the ceasefire that he agreed to last August. And it sure looks like that if he changed his mind and decided on total war, he could make things very, very uncomfortable for the American occupation in Iraq. And just one more thing on this point is the accusations of the EFPs. We all remember the IEDs, the improvised explosive devices, killing our guys on the roads of Iraq. Well, just over a year ago, they debuted a new propaganda point, along with perhaps some new and improved landmines that they call EFPs, explosively formed penetrators. These have copper cores. Therefore, they must come from Iran because, of course, an Arab couldn't possibly make an explosive with a copper core in it. It must come from Iran. And now how much evidence have they provided that these new and improved improvised explosive devices come from Iran? None. Zero. But they say it over and over again, so it might be true. But literally, we have numerous reports, dozens of reports, beginning, I think, with Patrick Coburn in November of 2006, that these EFP factories were being found in Iraq, all over Iraq, in fact. U.S. soldiers found another one of these new and improved EFP factories in Diwania province today. In fact, there was one funny story where Reuters reported that, and the Washington Post ran the story, excised the paragraph that said they found an EFP factory, and replaced it with a paragraph that says, yeah, well, one soldier was killed by an EFP today. Those are the kinds of bombs that our government says come from Iran. And then went on, the paragraph about how they had literally found a factory that very same day making those kinds of bombs somehow didn't make it into the final draft there at the Washington Post. I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go to they're crazy. They're madmen, actually, even better. The Ayatollahs, the mad mullahs, they're not like you and me. They can't deal in reason and knowledge and, I don't know, protecting their own human interests like you and I. Oh no, they're crazy. They're trying to force the 12th Imam to come back and kill all the Jews, unlike the American Armageddonists who want Jesus to come back and kill all the Jews. But whichever, supposedly they're mad men there, the mad mullahs in Iran, the Ayatollahs, and they cannot be dealt with, and they cannot be trusted. If they had a nuclear weapon, why, we can't trust that they would know, that they would be deterred by the fact that they would be retaliated against massively because they want to die. They want to be a martyr. They want to blow their whole country up in service of Allah. So therefore, the fact that America has thousands of H-bombs is no deterrent to them whatsoever because they're just so insane. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just not true. The 12th Imam, this, that. I don't know what the Shiites believe about the 12th Imam. I don't know what the Ayatollah Khomeini believes about the 12th Imam, but I know that his entire career has been marked by a willingness to deal, to compromise, to negotiate, and to deal in the real world, not some some strange afterlife. Some of the proof of this is the first major piece of evidence I'd like to submit to you is the Great Peace Offer from 2003. Right after the Iraq War, the Iranians sent a peace offer through a Swiss delegate to the Americans to offer negotiations on a great many points. And in fact, Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice's reaction was not just to tell the Iranians to go to hell, but to tell the Swiss diplomat who had brought them the message that he ought to go ahead and go to hell as well. How dare he come and deliver a peace message from the Iranians. And in this peace offer, and you can find the PDF file of the actual document itself online, they offered to recognize Israel. First thing. They said, well, we'll recognize Israel. We support the Saudi peace plan for 67 borders, and we're willing to recognize the state of Israel. The state, remember that, they'll stop at nothing to wipe off the map. We will help you in Iraq, and in fact, you read this thing, it literally says, we'll help you to create a secular democratic government and marginalize religious extremists, is what it said. Wow. Not just support the Supreme Islamic Council, but support who we want them to support. Maybe we could have got Alawi elected after all. They said that they would put pressure on Hezbollah and Hamas, that they would force Hezbollah to basically become a political party and turn over its weapons to the Lebanese army and in not so many words, but basically to cease being a militant organization, and that they would also put all pressure due on Hamas to have them normalize relations with Israel as well. They said all of their nuclear technology and capability is on the table up for discussion. They were willing to trade all of the Al-Qaeda guys that they have in prison for any members of the Mujahideen al-Qaeda that we might happen to be harboring in Iraq. 5 for 5, I think, was the trade. And all they wanted was for America to lift the sanctions against them, which Dick Cheney opposed when Clinton put them in place in the 1990s, and they wanted to be removed, Libya-style, from the axis of evil. Can't be done, Gaddafi. Crazy, right? Somehow it can be done. They said, hey, Gaddafi, we'll finally let you come over here and kiss our ass like you've been trying to do for 5 years. And Gaddafi said, okay, great. And they made a deal. He turned over all the nuclear technology he bought from the Pakistani network, and relations between America and Libya couldn't be nicer. That's all the Iranians wanted. They were willing to basically give up everything in exchange for a simple bit of recognition and the lifting of the sanctions. And again, they were told to go to hell. Now, there's a couple of examples of not just the ability of the Iranians to do business in a reasonable fashion, not preoccupied by the return of the 12th Imam and so forth. And many of them actually have to do with the current Vice President of the United States and the leader of the American War Party, Dick Cheney. Turns out in the 1990s, he was the CEO of Halliburton, an oil services company, and complained on numerous occasions about American policy toward Iran. In 1996, he blasted the administration for being, quote, sanction-happy as a government. The problem is that the good Lord didn't see fit to always put oil and gas resources where there are democratic governments. Cheney explained of his desire to do business with Iran regardless. In 1998, he hid out at his own government while overseas. Remember what happened to the Dixie Chicks when they did that. Dick Cheney going abroad to badmouth his own government, saying that the sanctions have been, quote, ineffective and did not provide the desired result and a bad policy. He continued, I have made it clear that our sanctions policy is wrong, he said when asked to comment on the Iran-Libya Act, which contains provisions for sanctions to be imposed by the U.S. against foreign companies making investments beyond $20 million a year in the oil and gas sector of the targeted countries. Cheney, who is now the chairman and CEO of Halliburton, said, quote, the U.S. needs to be much more restrained than we have been in terms of pursuing unilateral economic sanctions. So, there's Dick Cheney saying, hey, look, come on, the Persians, they're people too. We can do business with them. What's the matter with you, Bill Clinton? I'm trying to make some money here. And this is the guy who now is the one responsible for the we don't talk to evil policy. We don't do business with evil. We don't sit down at tables with evil people to negotiate because we don't do them the favor.